Well, it's cool. Like, I think that back then was different. Like, I was there from, I guess, like 2010 to 16, 17 sort of thing. And it's like, I feel like in the last few years, and we sort of talked about a little bit last night, you've like found your identity. Like, you sort of, not that you would like blend in, but it's like now you have like such a presence in the sport compared to back then, which is super cool for a guy that, you know, you were saying last night, like you were almost done. So it's like to go from almost being done to now like really carving out your own niche in the sport is super cool, dude.
Yeah. And I did kind of blend in, honestly. I was a 3rd to 6th place guy almost every week. You know, I rode for several great teams in that era from 2010 was my first year in the 450 class for the JGR team. Rode for them for 4 years, rode for Factory Honda for a year. But I was never the championship guy or the guy that really stood out. So I did kind of blend in. And then you're right, in 2016, it was either I was going to be done or I was going to carve out somewhat my own path of, like, I love riding motorcycles. I love the sport. I love Supercross. I love motocross. It's what I've loved my whole life. Since I was 3 years old, I couldn't stop watching Supercross on TV. Like, my parents would record it on the VCR, and it was Matasevich and Bradshaw and guys like that. And then obviously McGrath and Carmichael. And I just absolutely love it. But what I didn't love was really the mental grind from every weekend having to perform. And even though I wasn't the guy winning every weekend, there's still a lot of pressure to perform, to be a 4th place guy or 5th place guy and get a ride for the next year.
Yeah, it's just to keep your job kind of thing.
Just to keep your job, yeah. And thankfully I was good enough to where every year I didn't have to stress that much, but I was like, the pay scale is different, right? If I'm an 8th place guy compared to a 4th or potentially winning, or if I could get that win, then you're paid off the potential to win again. And so there's so many different ways to look at it, and so many different things that I wanted to achieve, that it's stressful. It's so mentally stressful. And I'm pretty hard on myself anyways. Put a lot of pressure on myself, and I know my capabilities, so I always wanted to put in the most to achieve those goals. And so in 2016 during motocross, I had enough. And I was telling you this story last night, but I believe it was 2014 Unadilla. I had a pretty good day. I was top 5, and I left there, and I called my wife at the time, and or obviously still my wife, but we had just gotten married in 2013, and I called her, and I was crying. I was driving back to the hotel by myself. I had a fairly good day. I believe I went 5.4, 4.5, something like that. And I was so fed up with it. I was just like, I'm just in this revolving, like, just mess of I'm not happy. I didn't like motocross that much, to be completely honest. I struggled with, and I enjoyed the suffering part, like the training of motocross, because you can't hide on a motocross track 25 minutes in when it's 100 degrees outside. You can't hide. It's either you're in shape or you're not. And I love that part of it. But what I didn't love was we start riding Supercross in September. Yeah. Start testing Supercross in September. Then we do a few off-season races, and then we're at Anaheim in January. And then I put all my eggs into Supercross. Always have. I love Supercross. It's what I'm best at. It's what I enjoy the most. So I would put all my eggs in that basket. And then come May, I'm like totally worked mentally, physically, everything. Oh, and then guess what? You get a weekend off. Well, you don't really get a weekend off because you're testing and training, and you're doing your 30-minute motos, and you're trying to squeeze in all this stuff into such a small time frame. And then you got to go line up at Hangtown, which it's like, I've never enjoyed that track. I don't know what it is about that place. I think it's probably just everything combined with the stress and travel and everything. And then all of a sudden you got to go line up, and then it's all summer of just completely grinding. So, and
even like not just the racing, like I've said it before, like just the traveling, just being on knowing, like I used to dread Thursdays, that you'd have to get up super early, You got to pack all your shit. You got to get in the car. You got to deal with traffic. You got to fly. You got to deal with cancel flight. Like it's the whole production, like everything that takes place to go into those outdoors. And they're not in great place. It's not MetLife Stadium. No, exactly. You know, like you're getting there, then you got to drive. Like it's a huge ordeal.
And then we got to sometimes find a gym if the hotel doesn't have a gym, because you got to do a spin or a run or something like that. And then you got to go drive an hour to an autograph signing. Then you got to find some place to eat dinner. And then you got to wake up at 5 a.m. to get to the track by 6:30 or so, or do your morning warm up. And then it's a long day at the race. Like it's really, really tough. And what people see on TV is just the part of it that I wish I could only do, right? I wish you could just show up and race your motorcycle and it would be awesome. But it's everything from in between, which is why it's the hardest thing to manage, I guess. And it's what I wish the fans in our sport, and the media is doing a better job, especially with social media and everything. Now you can actually see what goes on.
Well, now you can say what goes on
exactly.
in your own words too.
Yeah. And it's a cool time to show the fans and stuff, and to have them closer into your life. And I just decided that year in 2016. So driving home from Unadilla, and then I still did 2 years of motocross, just kind of miserable.
Sucker for punishment.
Yes, but it's just what our industry has taught us, right? Like you have to be in that revolving circle of, you got to race Supercross and you got to race motocross. That was really the only jobs available.
Yeah.
So you kind of had to do it. But it's just what our industry has taught us, right? Like you have to be in that revolving circle of, you got to race Supercross and you got to race motocross. That was really the only jobs available.
Yeah.
So you kind of had to do it.
Yeah. The thing that's crazy is like everyone says the same thing. Like, and it's not like this is a 2019 thing where everyone's saying the same thing. It's like, well, I just don't know why it hasn't changed, or like where do we go from here? Because it's like so many people say it, and it's not dudes that have been little pussies and complaining. Like it's the good dudes. Everyone says it. We lose. Like you're friends with Jimmy Johnson. Like, can you imagine if he retired at 27?
Yeah, it'd be crazy.
What?
Yeah.
No, ever, never, not gonna happen.
Yeah, and nor do people want to. Like, I'm 35 and I love it. Like I absolutely love it. And I think if people could take a step back or try and create their own program, like you see RV now coming back in. Like, I don't know if he wanted to be done when he was done, but he was probably just so mentally cooked that he didn't really have a choice. And then I honestly believe Supercross and motocross are like playing football and baseball. Like it's two totally different sports. It's different bike setups, which now our bike setups are getting closer and closer together, which they shouldn't be. That's a whole different story about the GPs and why the guys in the GPs I think are doing better than the Americans in motocross, because it's so specific. Yeah. Our motocross settings now are just basically roll your Supercross bike out of the truck and put some softer springs in the suspension and you're pretty much good.
Do you reckon that everyone runs shit too stiff in America?
For motocross, yeah.
Yeah, because that just seems to be like the thing.
Yeah.
Like it's just everybody's bike is so stiff.
Yeah, but we have 1 week.
Yeah.
We have 1 week from Supercross that we rode from September to May. And now we've got 1 week to get on much softer suspension and then go to Hangtown. So you always kind of show up to the first round too stiff, because if you go from your really stiff Supercross stuff to your on the softer side motocross, it's almost always like, man, this is way too soft. I need to go stiffer, stiffer. And then as you kind of get into the season, it's like, then you kind of find a happy medium. So yeah, I just think they're two totally different disciplines. And when I made that decision, like I loved racing, I loved Supercross, but I knew that I had to make a change.